Hey folks, my name is Jürgen, aka Nerd and Proud of It, and Destiny has brought you to my channel today to enjoy a talk between Patrick and myself. Patrick, welcome to the channel. It's good to have you. We haven't talked in quite a while, so it's good to reconnect, but maybe you can quickly introduce yourself and let the viewers know who you are and what we probably will be talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for having me, Jürgen. It's an honor to be here, and for your listeners as well, or viewers. Patrick Rombouts, and you invited me in regard of my responsibilities and my job at the time at Wizards of the Coast. In the meantime, I'm now retired, but I worked 20 years at Wizards of the Coast. Started in mid 1999 until 2019, exactly day on day, 20 years. So,
Crazy.
and it was an exciting time, and that's how we met, Jürgen. So
Yes.
it's been a while.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. Yeah, and you have been the commercial head of Europe. So basically, you've been the
Right.
boss
Yeah.
of Wizards of the Coast Europe, right?
I started initially as a sales director Europe, although Europe, it was not entirely Europe to make it. Wizard has always been a bit of a complex structure, and we had sales offices in France, in UK, and Italy. So I was responsible for Europe, excluding the French and the UK and the Italian market at that moment when I joined. But it was also including Middle East, Africa, and Russia.
So
And then
everything outside the US, right? You basically did.
no, because you had Latin America as well, and then Australia and New Zealand as another entity
True.
where
Yeah.
Wizards had own offices. Yeah. So, when I joined, we were still independent,
Yeah.
meaning not acquired by Hasbro. But only 3 months later, we were acquired by Hasbro. For the very obvious reason, Wizards had the license for Pokemon trading cards, and Hasbro had the one for toys. And
Yes.
the forecast was that this was gonna be big, and God knows, everyone knows now how big this has been. Pokemon, and so 3 months. I only worked there as for an independent Wizard of the Coast for 3 months, and gradually Hasbro, started taking over more, or having more grip on the organization. Yeah, with a lot
How,
of
how,
changes for the better
yeah.
or for the worse. Yeah.
Oh, how did those changes? I mean, basically, you started with Pokemon and Magic the Gathering, I guess, and then the sales to distribution partners across Europe and Middle East and the other territories you just
Yeah.
mentioned. Um, and when Hasbro took over pretty quickly, did you feel a change right away? Were there already talks about like corporations, maybe like what they did now with Transformers in Magic the Gathering? And I know you're not into the modern stuff a lot anymore, but yeah, was there already the plan and the thinking back in the year 2000 probably to do these things?
Well, no. What you see often when there is an acquisition, that the first is in the first year, it's primarily about getting the systems aligned with each other so that you can properly communicate. And I don't mean the phones or so, but the computer systems, the financial reporting. So primarily this was about financial reporting. But then gradually after that first year, you started to see also in terms of commercial setup, that Hasbro wanted to apply a certain structure, and to be fair and honest, Hasbro did not have a fantastic track record in putting that in place, but they still wanted to do that. And if there is one thing that I look very proud on, is together with Richard Cornish, who has been for the last decade of my 20 years service, has been my direct manager. But the two of us, we were able to keep Wizard still as an independent commercial entity, dealing with the distributors here in Europe, instead of being really kind of fully integrated within the Hasbro organization. It has been done in a couple of markets, in Italy, in France, for instance, in the UK, but not very successful. So we were able, after a number of years, to reverse that decision, and then there was the one European organization that was in control, was dealing with all the Wizards business in Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Russia. Yeah. So it was exciting, because I've had in that whole period, I've had the opportunity also to open offices in Germany, for instance. We did not have an office, so I was the initiator, if we may say so. Russia as well.
I remember Jürgen Breu was responsible for that,
Jürgen.
right? Yeah. The other Jürgen, I remember him from back in the day. Yeah, definitely, a really good guy.
I still can call him a friend. So that was very exciting. So we have had, how to say, a turbulent organization. Turbulent in the sense that things with Hasbro sometimes we had to go in a direction because they were the owner. So
true.
But we have been able to also to reverse certain things.
But what was your advantage then? Because you said some things were better if you stayed independent. So was that on the if you looked at organized play, or if you looked at distribution, or what was the reason to revert it, to give you more control, or give you back more control?
Well, the Wizards, the way how we operated at that time was not compatible with the way how Hasbro. There it was supermarkets, toy stores, big displays, a lot of product, pushing. Wizards model is obviously, the more this product is being played, the more we sell. So we do it in the other way around.
Yes.
So it requires also, in terms of production, supply chain, and the whole organized play. I don't know how many times we tried to explain that. The only thing they saw that it was extremely expensive, because it was our biggest department at the time. Yes. Organized play, many people. We had all those events. In the meantime, those have. Well, many of them have disappeared, but we had so many events. So
I remember I did some of them in the Netherlands for 999 games. So we did organized play here, of course, right away in the beginning. But that was enormous. There were like several events every weekend. It was crazy.
Yeah. So no.
But that was your biggest advantage, because they didn't really get it, and I don't think they still do, because they still step away from, for example, the local game stores, the LGSs, and so on, and they don't get that Magic the Gathering, for example, needs to be played to be successful in the end. At least that's how it grew, and that is how it still thrives, in my opinion. But I know,
it was recognized that. I can't exactly say what year, but I think also Richard Cornish there did a great job in making the senior Hasbro management aware of the differences. And then it was recognized in such a way that all the sales offices that were resided in the Hasbro organization in France, UK, and Italy were given back to the responsibility. The people were still sitting in the offices, because in terms of, let's say, infrastructure and systems, it was much easier to be part of the same office, but the responsibility, in terms of commercial responsibility, marketing, and all of that was fully independent. Now in the US it was different. The US always remained in Seattle. They had this also in terms of creation and all of that. They have been always able to maintain their independence.
They still do.
Lately, I think lately it has changed a bit with some properties that have been introduced. But I'm not aware of
the more recent stuff. Yeah, I think you're referring to the secret layers and the different properties that now are part of Magic the Gathering. And I think there's a lot of controversy about it. Some people like it a lot, some people don't like it at all and think it's the start of the decline. But on the other hand, it brings in a lot of new players as well. Was that the biggest target you had, despite the financial targets, bringing in new players?
Yeah, we knew the more players, the more product we would sell, and so that's hence the reason why the organized play department was such a crucial part of our organization. But Hasbro saw at one point in time only the cost of that department and the organization of those big events. There was a lot of cash going on because at that time you couldn't pay with credit cards or anything like that. So in terms of liability, security, and all of that, being part of the Hasbro organization has had a lot of challenges, but I think also for the better, because honestly, I think it made. I was happy in a number of areas to be part of Hasbro. The way how, for instance, for Europe, everything was all our product was stored in Germany in the main facilities they had there. That worked perfect. They had a fantastic organization. We were in very close contact. One of my team members, co-workers, Jerome WotC, who works now at Carta Mundi since I don't know. I think it's already 5-6 years. Oh, 5 years, I believe. We built really a fantastic relationship with the warehouse facilities there, with the people, the staff there, and they started really to grasp the concept of also new releases, because Hasbro doesn't. Well, they don't have that kind of like consecutive releases, pre-releases. Yeah, they had no clue and how important it was that product was in time at the distributors, so distributors could supply the local gaming stores in time for the pre-release weekend. So it costed a lot of time and energy, but after a while, it started really to operate well. In terms of financials, obviously, it was also important that big investments were supported by the Hasbro senior management in the US. So definitely, it's not. If I look back, it's not that I didn't like Hasbro.
Good to hear. But you made use of their infrastructure, you made use of their financial power, and their how do you say this? Their way of approaching things. And on the other side, you educated them to the needs you had, like pre-releases, regular releases.
That's
how many releases did you? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, at that moment, we had only 4.
4 per year.
The 4 sets.
The blocks.
Yeah, that 4 blocks.
The blocks and an extra set. Yeah.
But no, at the beginning we tried to educate them, and that was very hard to do. And I think at a certain moment they also saw that our numbers kept on growing, and it was really going very well. Also in terms of contribution to the bottom line. Wizards was contributing a significant part of the overall Hasbro result. So they also trusted. they trusted us, and we built that credibility. And if I talk about we, that's not, I'm not referring by any means to me, meaning we as Wizards globally, and we got more respect and recognition for what we were doing. They always said, we have no clue how you guys work, but it seems to work. It seems to work. Yeah. So and we leave
So let them do their thing.
we let you do your thing. But that was
Yeah.
after some rough years of trying, and they wanted to squeeze us in a box, and yeah, well, many gamers do not like to be boxed.
No,
So
definitely
yeah,
not. No, and probably, I mean, in the beginning, if you look at 1999, 2000, it was a rough year for Wizards as well because of the quality and print run of the sets. I mean, very low print runs. Sets were not received super well. We just came from the big reserved list discussion. Was there internally talk about the reserved list? And that personally, I think it saved Magic the Gathering back then, because I was part of the people that in '95 opened Chronicles, and all my cards that I really was trying to collect were devalued at that time, and I was ready to stop until they announced they would create the reserve list. Was there the big discussion, like the sets, the reserve list, these kind of things?
yeah. It it's always finding the fine line between having enough product and not enough. I always
Yes.
I learned something from an ex brother-in-law, and he was a baker, and he said, I want to end my every day with having still one bread on the shelf. That means
Hmm.
that I was able to supply all my customers with the bread. At Wizards, I turned this a bit different, and I said we should have one booster or one display less than what people were asking, because then there is still more demand than there is
Interesting.
availability.
Yes.
Obviously, there was in a corporate organization like Hasbro, but it would be within any corporate organization. There is always pressure to do more,
Sell
and
more.
they think, yeah, you guys are doing so well, so just print X more. So it was up to us to defend that possible, so to create a certain scarcity, but how much scarcity? Huh? So you do not want to know how many discussions and how long those discussions have gone on within Europe, within on a global scale, and yeah, I don't know if you ever, you never know that you have it right. Huh?
No. Have you, do you have any particular sets you still remember where you are like, hey, this was the perfect amount, and any sets that were heavily overprinted? Just one or two
Oh
examples,
yeah,
maybe?
yeah. Well, I don't, I cannot. You surprise me with the question, and I don't know how exactly
No, oh, good.
the names of the sets, but I can tell you that sometimes, because always when we get the preview of the set, and then the team that is the head designer and all of that, they do a whole speech about how great this new set is and what
Of
mechanics
course.
and the world and blah blah blah, and then you have the marketing team. So and then sometimes you get a bit carried away. You trust them, and then you order a certain amount of product, and then apparently the players didn't particularly like this theme, and then you're sitting on a lot of stock.
Yeah,
But
that
the
happens.
last, I must say, the last, as of the moment that we became one European organization I was referring to earlier on in our conversation, we have had continuous growth. It was just amazing, and was
Crazy.
always it was more than double digit growth every year. So
It's
it's that was
it's really
amazing.
crazy.
Uh,
For around 20 years, double-digit growth every year.
well, no. The last 10 since that, let's say the last 10 years of my service, And okay, later on it kept on growing, and it's not
Yes. Yeah.
it did not
The
stop
last 10 years. Okay, I
because
get it.
I left them, but until 2019.
Yeah.
So let's say as of, I think we became one again, where the decision was reverted, one European office again,
Hmm.
in 2008 or 2009, something like that, if my memory doesn't fail me. And as of then, it was it was every year. Uh, Now this is not only Wizards.
Okay.
We had the distributors, but obviously all the core store owners supporting. But obviously, yeah, we had to do a lot of work on that as well. We created a lot of new roles and new structure to support them. So it was a really a big team effort and accomplishment. And yeah, looking back, um, have we made mistakes? 100% sure. Huh? But yeah, well, still a lot of people, well, we're also having the benefits of many things that we did do well as well.
Of
Yeah,
course. Yes. No, I totally agree. Um, Looking at the reserve list, just a quick one because I know everybody's interested. You said when we were talking about the print runs big and small, you said yes, of course there was discussion about the reserve list as well. Can you give me a little bit more info about that? Did they want to like really get rid of it, like they did like with the 30th anniversary edition? I don't know if you have seen it, but they reprinted kind of a collector's edition, not real Magic cards, but they reprinted all the Power 9 and all the old stuff. So the whole alpha beta set, unlimited as well, basically. But was there a lot of talk going on about monetization of these cards? Because that was a part you didn't really get profit from in
yeah.
the end.
Well, to be honest, those conversations, I'm sure those happened, but not really on a European level.
Okay.
Those were residing within the Seattle office. Yeah,
Yeah. No, I can imagine.
and let's say, yeah, at Hasbro they saw more a business opportunity. At
Yeah. Yeah.
Wizards,
Yeah.
we know the secondary, the value of the secondary market. People that invested all these years in collecting,
Yes.
building, beautiful collections, and you would, in one go, you would devalue their investment.
Not
Uh,
only money wise, but also the investment in time. If I look at it, I have building my collection for more than 30 years now, and it indeed is very frustrating to those
yeah,
people
yeah.
if you
So
not only devalue that money investment, but also that time investment and care you give. No, I hear you. I hear it's a sensitive subject, and that's okay. But
it was, and it's probably still is.
yes,
And then there is a bit the old kind of the old traditional way of looking at it, and then
yeah,
the well the new, and particularly people that have less, if you have less connection to a game, and to the world, and why we did things, it's much easier to decide just reprint. It's money. It's
yes.
you open the tap and it's gold that coming out. No, it's not gonna be. It's gonna fire back into our face if we do that. Huh?
It
And
you
then
saw it, yeah.
you're
You saw it with the
dramatizing, or you're too emotional
no.
about it.
No, you saw it with the 30th anniversary edition. It's exactly like you said. People who have not the connection, who have not started like 30 years ago, who don't have any emotional connection to these cards, they probably decided, let's try a reprint and see how the people react, and hope let's make it a collector's edition so they can't say anything. So it's not technical a reprint, although it is, because officially Mark Rosewater said they wouldn't do that. But yeah, it blew up in their faces, like
Yeah,
the negative press and everything, but also the negative sentiment for Magic the Gathering was really really strong. And you said like, hey, they know about the secondary market, and we all know they know, and we all know there are economists in the company, and on the other hand they totally disregard that secondary market because they say, hey, there is no secondary market value concerning us, but basically they know it, and there is, right?
Yeah, there is. It's
Yeah.
now okay. Wizards never wanted to because we couldn't. It was never our intention to really manage the secondary market.
No,
That's a
no,
market deciding. Well,
exactly.
but the only way, obviously, we had a certain influence is to control our print runs,
Yes.
not to overdo it, or not to mess up
Pre-
your reserve lists.
yeah, or print
For instance,
certain other cards that are very much in
yeah,
demand because they are high in price on the secondary market. Not
yeah,
print them too often because those cards are selling the boxes, right? Nowadays.
right, yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
so that was, yeah, it's tempting, particularly if you're talking to financial hot shots, and I think, yeah, well, you're leaving money on the table. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it looks
There's a
like
reason for that.
in the short term, yes. In mid and long term, well, no, most likely not. Yeah, yeah.
Most likely not.
But how could we how could we predict the result? There was no way to exactly. So then, yeah, then it's a lot to say. Yeah, you're too emotional. You're too much connected to the product. You need to look at it in a different way. And I must say, okay, you know yourself as a gamer, when you're really, you have your heart in the game and in what you do, you defend this obviously with by all means.
Yes.
So perhaps sometimes we also did a bit too much, but it was just, yeah, protecting something that we really cherished and we valued very high. Uh,
I think that's fantastic, and I think that's how it should be. And I think there are still people at Wizards of the Coast in Seattle now that think like that, and I think that's showing at the moment currently because they were proven right that their way of approaching things is probably the better one. But I'm really happy to hear that because that's what I felt back then with you guys, and that's I remember who you or how you chose your partners as well. I remember when I joined the company who was working with you guys, you were like enthusiastic because there was somebody who understood the values of playing the game, who understood the game itself, and in the end, hopefully, that helped grow the market a little bit, and I'm confident it did. But yeah, I hear you. If you look at the production side for Europe, I mean. Quickly, how many people were there in the European head office in Belgium, roughly? Let's say with the German, Italian offices as well.
well, also that is a bit of a strange story. Yeah, yeah, I'm closing the screens here because the sun is getting in.
All good, all good. Yeah.
Because perhaps it's, I don't know if your viewers are interested in that, but how was it that in such a small country like Belgium there was the headquarters of Europe, and it was because of Carta Mundi,
Yes.
and at the time, and when we're talking about yeah, in the end of the 90s, when the production started here in with Carta Mundi, there was no digital checkup, the quality control. So that was still visual, physically done. So Wizards had one or two people living here, Americans living in Belgium, close to the facilities of Carta Mundi in Turnhout.
Yes.
And also the headquarters at that time were in Turnhout. I just missed that. I think they moved a few months before I joined in June 1999. But that's how the European headquarters were, yeah, ended up to be in Belgium.
Because of the printing facility being there.
Yeah, yeah. So later on, it was decided to move back to Antwerp for the headquarters, and those. I think the moment when I joined, we still had, I think, one person for doing the physical quality control. So when she got a call, she jumped into the car, drove to Carta Mundi, looked
Had a
at
look at cards.
Looked at with all what was necessary. I have no exact idea how that went. The, obviously, these it's very hard for people now to think that this was done in such a way.
Wow.
But at the
Yeah.
time, that was end of the 90s, and that went on until I think early 2000, and everything went digital, and then
Yeah.
printers were the whole setup before really the print started was checked digitally.
And
Um,
Katamundi was exclusive printing Magic the Gathering cards back then, because nowadays they are printed in the US and in Japan as well, I think. But
no, like
back
originally
then,
they started in the US,
you
but
okay?
as the business became international
Yeah.
and also other languages joined,
Hmm.
then those that they had, they wanted to have a partner that was local to those languages,
Okay.
because that is obviously important also in terms of supply chain and all of that. It was much easier. The only exception was Spanish, because in as we know, in the US there is also a large Spanish community that was produced in the US as well.
Interesting. That's
All
super
the other
interesting.
languages, including Japanese and so on, was
Yeah.
produced at Cartamundi at that time.
At that time.
Later, because the Japanese were not happy with the quality, I'm not gonna say more. Then this was moved and first to a subsidiary of Cartamundi in Japan, and I
Yeah.
believe later on it was even transferred to another company because they were still not happy with whatever print quality. But all the
Interesting.
rest was in Cartamundi. Cartamundi is really a long term partner of Wizards. From somewhere in the 90s, we built a really good rapport with the people there,
Hmm.
we were very happy. And as obviously they grew as well together with us, because
Yeah.
we were talking about the number of releases. We had four at one. I think the moment when I left, we had something like 24 releases in a year.
Wow.
Okay, you
That's
still had the
crazy.
four the blocks, but
Yes.
then you have all this special packaging and special releases in between. So that obviously that brought also more business, but there was also really a demand to at the unhinged series to call a special one. But so and they always thought very let's say we could say, okay, this is our plan and all of that, and they started to think how they could do and support a special packaging, because it is not they have their obviously their equipment. It is not because we think about something that their machine can handle this new packaging, for instance. Also in the time frames.
Hmm.
Now, once the machine is rolling, it goes extremely fast.
Yes.
But no. So that's how we ended up in Belgium. Then from Antwerp. At that moment, I think we were, but we talk about let's say early 2000s.
Yeah.
We were probably something about 27 or so. So
I would have estimated around 30 people based on my experiences
but that was only in
visiting
the
you
Belgian
guys
office.
there. Yeah.
Then we had
No, no.
people
Yes.
in the French office, 3, 4 people, 4 people, I think, and in the UK as
Yeah.
well, Italy. So I
Interesting.
think in total, Wizards Europe was something like at that moment 35.
Yeah.
Now I forget with Pokemon. Obviously, we had to really increase the amount of people significantly, because
Yeah.
business suddenly
Ex-
became
Exploded.
never seen that.
That's
And that was
crazy.
only when I was there 6 months. So uh, in terms of sales, I started as sales director, but I was the only salesperson. So I had
Wow.
to find key account managers, a whole team, and all of that, so that and find people internationally and all of that. So obviously it was
But
great. It was pioneer
but
work.
and you could say you had an easy job selling Pokemon back then, right?
Oh yeah, well yeah. No, it
I'm
was
just
not.
kidding. I'm just
It
kidding.
was
No,
it was difficult because we didn't have enough. So
no, I
I,
get it. I
I
get it. Yeah.
cannot explain how many conversations I've had about the lack of product. Yeah. And
No,
why, yeah, and
I
why they
remember.
were only getting this and someone else. They always thought that another distributors would get
Yeah,
more and all of that,
no,
which
it was
wasn't the
crazy.
case. But yeah, it was. Yeah,
I
I can understand if you have, I don't know, a zillion customers knocking at your door and you can't
yeah
supply them. That's not a great thing. And you see, you want to help. Obviously, you want to generate the revenue and the profit as a distributor, and Wizards doesn't supply you or can't. It's not like can't supply you. So at that moment, Cartamundi was doing night shifts,
yeah.
everything to do that. I remember a
I
moment when we were having English product getting from the US, and there was a heavy storm, and uh, a lot of the containers dropped off board. So
no.
there is still somewhere in the ocean. I don't know how many containers with Pokemon cards
Oh
for
no,
the
that's
remainders. Yeah,
interesting.
which
I
was, well. Then we're saying, okay, there are so many boosters coming our way, and then they dropped in the ocean. So that was awful. And
crazy.
how,
Yeah.
people don't, in the end, they don't believe you anymore.
No, because
It,
yeah,
well, I
dropped
can
in the
laugh at it, but
ocean,
it was
right?
at that moment, I can tell you, Ewan, you get to hear that, and I think, how in the hell are we going to tell this to people? Okay, we were honest. This is what happened,
Yeah, all you can
but
do.
yeah, it took again a long time before we were able to supply. Yeah, yeah,
But then
yeah,
it's good that Katamundi was able to scale up with you, and those are exactly the stories I when we talked about. Hey, what could we talk about? Those are exactly the stories I was looking for,
yeah, yeah,
like containers of Pokemon on the bottom of the ocean. There are
yeah,
probably
yeah,
a couple of treasure hunters setting sail now. No,
yeah,
very interesting. No, but it's good that Katamundi was able to scale up with you. I remember you took us there once, and it was super secretive, and we weren't allowed to see a lot, but we have seen the offices a little bit and maybe a glimpse of the production facility, if I remember correctly, but not really because everything was like sterile as well, right?
Well,
Um,
it depends if the city is not yet known, and
exactly.
then
No,
we obviously we cannot show distributors around
no,
when the production of a new set is happening, and those production happens obviously months before the release.
no.
So
Roughly how
yeah,
many months? Like I remember, like half a year or something. Is that
no, no,
correct?
no, it's
Longer?
shorter. Yeah, we were able.
Longer?
That it initially, let's say Cartamuni wanted to, but it was not always possible. And in the end, they were able. You talked about scaling up, so also I think they were able to give us a shorter time span. But the production happens. Also, they produce and it's stored for a while there until
Yeah,
all the sets are finished, and then they start supplying us.
yeah.
So and then we talk about between 3 and 2 months prior to the release. Yeah,
Oh, okay. No,
yeah. So
interesting.
but that was at the end. I have no clue how it is now these days, but
No,
that's
but I would assume it's roughly the same because at a certain point you can optimize the printing process only so much. So because
yeah.
the physical thing of printing still is a thing that takes time. I remember, and we talked about that a little bit. I remember when I was in Antwerp in the office for the release of the ninth edition, and
Yeah,
I asked you, and I still have this. You gave this to a couple of us, and it was the first time that there were boosters in Russian language. So in here are like 9 boosters because of the ninth edition. You made the marketing move to include the ninth language, and these are the first boosters of the printer. I remember you were getting these. At least you told us. I don't know if it's true, but maybe you can confirm.
if you
You were
told them,
getting
then
these.
it's true.
Yeah, right before the meeting, you were getting the first boosters, putting them in that limited edition deck box by Ultra Pro, which was a good partner for Wizards of the Coast back then already, right? And the first time we had a Russian booster. But that these kind of gifts, I think were really cool and really funny. And as you see, I still have this. That shows the love I have for the product, that I kept this for almost 20 years. But what I wanted to get to is like, you were responsible for adding a lot of languages, right? I mean, in the beginning, in '95, I think we got German and French. I remember because I was buying the packs in Germany, German ones, and I was in Paris for like a couple of weeks to learn French, and I was buying French packs there, and I still have the cards. And at a certain point, Spanish, of course, obviously was printed in the US, as you mentioned, which is very interesting because the quality of the first edition German and French cards is much better than the quality of the Spanish cards. And I always wondered why, but that might be a reason, because they were printed over there and then shipped to you guys, or not at that moment in '95, of course, but a little later. Um, but when you look at the languages, and look at the amount of printed boxes compared to the English ones, was that amount more? Was that higher? For example, if you look at the German market, I'm always very curious because they say, yeah, it's massively printed. I don't believe it. I haven't seen a lot of old German cards, and I got like a box full still. But I remember we had like one or two booster boxes in our LGS, and then it was gone. And the same goes for the older sets. And we know the print runs of the older sets like Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, Arabian Nights, Legends. Then, of course, Antiquities in between, Arabian Nights, Antiquities, Legends, and then the Dark and these kind of things. But when you were doing these languages, especially like the new ones, Japanese and so on, was that compared to English, was that a lot lower? Was it on par? Was it totally different? Just
Also,
curiosity.
also
Yeah.
there is a big evolution, because at the beginning we printed a lot more. The German market needed much more German product than English, huh?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
because even young people at that time, and I speak about 25 years ago, were not really very well in English,
No.
so they were buying German. But then gradually, as English was taught in school much more, and obviously with music and movies and so on, we saw
Yes.
really an evolution where it became, I think, at a certain point, more English. Allee, it was a long time 50-50 for the German
Yeah.
market, and then
Interesting.
gradually English, I think, was in the end, when I left, 60% share and 40% German product. But in other markets like Italian or French, Italian even more, it was harder for them for English. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
I
okay, you
remember.
had the
Yeah.
real core gamers. Obviously, they were very well in English, so that was not a problem. Um, the English was still by far the most sold language here in Europe.
Yeah.
Uh, Obviously, you have also the UK, and then all the markets that had not a longer local language. Um, During my time, there was only Russian product that was added.
Yeah.
We spoke about other languages as well, but first we wanted to get Russian product proof. We had a whole business case for that, and it was very hard for us to get Russian product at a level that was sustainable. To be honest, yeah,
And is that a reason why it nowadays has been discontinued? I
yeah,
believe,
yeah.
just to have a look, because it should be in there, and it definitely is. That should be the Russian booster,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
believe.
That's
Yeah,
rare. That's rare
and that
now.
that was the first one,
Yeah.
according to you, coming from the from the print machines. One of the first ones, of course. But when was it so difficult because the market is so difficult, or was it so
Yeah.
difficult because you need good translators, or you need,
No, no,
yeah.
it was not to translate. Okay, that doesn't mean. I'm sure that a number of your viewers will remember some translation issues.
Oh,
Um,
I still got some old German cards which are amazing.
yeah,
Really not totally wrong or whatever, but the words they chose were like super
yeah,
funny.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
Sometimes
cherish these. No,
I don't know
sorry, didn't
these
want to
days
interrupt.
if ChatGPT would do the translation well. I don't know, but
No,
anyway, no, I can't immediately remember if we ever had a specific translation. But the Russian market is very hard, and there is in terms of it was a very expensive product for
yeah,
because people compare then Moscow, and Moscow is as a capital is not Russia. Huh?
no,
100, 120 million people at that time. And if you go to the countryside, yeah, there were people making a few hundred euros a month.
yeah, yeah.
And if you then have to buy expensive products, yeah, they didn't do it. So in that way, we built a business case. I still remember me together with Jerome working through the numbers and all of that. So we made something. We were able to sell it, and then we had to deliver, and then yeah, then that it went up, and then it stabilized. We were struggled also with distributors there, so it's a big country with not so much infrastructure,
I I
even
rem
these days.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning even back in the day when we talked about Russia that you had to calculate a certain amount of bribery in your P&L. Is that correct? Like, no, not.
No,
Then
nothing.
it might have been a joke like that in
Yeah.
Russia to and not official bribery, but like to get
No, no,
business
no,
done.
because Hasbro was extremely strict in that,
Okay,
and no one was gonna risk their job.
might
But
might have been might have been a joke.
I'm
Yeah,
sure it would have made life easier that one
a lot
hand.
easier. Yeah.
But the risk, because the risk is that Hasbro would be fined
Yes.
up to 10% of their total revenue. So
Ooh,
then,
yeah.
yeah, then you're
No,
talking.
that's not a risk you take.
Then
Yeah, that's
we you talk about
talking.
400 million or something like
Yeah,
that as
that's
a
a lot of
fine.
money.
No, no.
Yeah.
So there was no, but
Ah,
we may have joked about it.
yeah.
Something like, okay, that would have made it easier, or people were
The,
expecting it.
it probably was that. Yeah,
Yeah,
was like almost 20 years ago,
yeah,
around
yeah.
20
Some
years
some
ago.
product
So
that was if to talk about an old story, Felix would be Felix Habrecht, who was the organized
mm,
play manager at that time. Uh, he might well to give a bit more ideas, but we had an event in Russia, in Moscow,
okay.
and we had at the beginning, yeah, we supplied computers and printers and all of that to the event, and we have never been able to get them out of Russia anymore because they wanted the customs department wanted some extras, and
Yes.
we couldn't do that, and we were not prepared to do that. So perhaps still today there are talking about antiquities. Might be really very antique computers and printers
Wiz-
still there lying in the
Wizards of the
warehouse.
Coast printers in the
Yeah,
warehouse
yeah,
somewhere in
yeah.
Russia. Yeah. No, it was a strange country. I've only been once with a video game in 2009. I released Metro, which was based on a book by
Yeah.
Dmitry Glukovsky, Metro 2033, for a company called THQ. And we've been to Moscow with press, and it was a very surreal experience to be there for a week. One story about maybe you can confirm it or deny it because that's very interesting about the Italian print run of Legends. A little bit before your time, I get it, but maybe you heard something because I talked to I've been to Milan, and I normally try to go to an LGS when I'm in a certain country, and I've been to an LGS there and talked to the owner. He was happy to talk on camera as well. I think it's up there amongst the TCG talks too. Um, and he told me that he worked very closely on translate it with the Italian Wizards of the Coast employee, I can't remember the name at the moment. You probably do, but he worked very closely with him, and he was actually translating the old sets back then. Not the employee, but the LGS owner, and he told me some stuff, so it sounded very legit. And he also, and I asked him like, hey, you remember the Italian legends? Because I bought some Italian legends at the time, because the original ones I only could buy one pack and then it was gone. We had one booster box of legends in our LGS, and everybody was allowed to buy one pack for 15 day mark, which was like a fortune back then for me. But I bought one. But I bought a couple of Italian ones a year later, and the print quality of the Italian legends is a lot better than the English legends. And the same goes for the Dark, actually. Italian The Dark is a lot better. And the story goes, based on what that LGS owner, who apparently did the translations, told me, is that the Italian Wizards of the Coast guy went to Belgium, to Cartamundi, and asked, why is the color intensity so low? And Cartamundi at that moment said, yeah, we could turn it up a bit, but nobody asked us. And that's why the Italian legends and the Dark actually are much more vibrant and brighter than the English ones. Do you know if that's true? Or is that no
no
idea?
clue. No.
No,
No.
then I probably have to investigate further. Then
I'm not saying it's true, and I cannot,
it,
but it could
no,
be
it
also true.
sounded very it sounded very legit, and based on the facts he told me and a little bit of inside knowledge I got as well, it sounded very legit. But I will investigate further.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you remember those, Patrick? You sent that one to me as well. Let's see if it focuses. It's like it was part of a Christmas card you sent me in 2008.
Yeah.
You remember these cards? Was that a new thing then? Who came up with this? Was this a European thing or a worldwide thing?
No,
The
worldwide. Yeah.
worldwide thing. Okay,
Yeah.
came from the US. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. They
Yeah,
started at one point in time, and obviously that was highly appreciated, particularly by the gamers amongst our distributors, and most of the
yes,
distributors were also gamers. Or they had in their staff quite a few gamers. So I don't know how those cards have been distributed. We couldn't supply a whole box to every distributor, but yeah, no, it
no,
was
we got one. So
yeah. No, we sent
and
one.
one exactly to
Yeah.
every distributor probably. So you got kind of a box of it. So there are not a lot of these, right?
No,
No,
extremely
you're
rare. Yeah.
really rare. Okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Interesting to know. Patrick, I think it was an excellent conversation. We were at 50 minutes, and I didn't want to keep you that long. And we had a nice chat before we started recording as well. There's not a lot of other things, or there are not a lot of other things I wanted to ask you. So all good. I think it was a wonderful conversation, and I think we should keep it to this. Do you have anything else? Like, what was your last thing I'm going to ask you? What was your favorite moment at Wizards of the Coast? Your favorite story?
My favorite. Now, you didn't ask me that up front, and I could have thought about, because there are quite a few. I do remember quite a few.
I have to keep you on your toes a little bit, Patrick.
Yeah.
No, good.
Yeah. Well, with staff, obviously, I still have very fond memories about the people I was fortunate to work with.
Yes.
It was a fantastic team.
Yeah, I agree.
But in terms of the most remarkable things I've seen in the Pokemon era, and Wizards was, I think, 3 years a license holder until the Pokemon Company, obviously for very I think clear reasons, took over. Didn't well, we could still have the license agreement, but at a cost that would not be affordable to us anymore. So they started doing it. But I think that brought a whole new dimension to the Wizards of the Coast business, to the whole category, to our the staff, the kind of activities that we did in terms of organized play, in terms of marketing, how the relationships changed with our distributors, from a very niche marketing business suddenly to become a mainstream supplier. So
Yeah.
I think that was the most remarkable period. But I also remember, we talked about Russia, starting an office there, starting a local language there, and you were yourself mentioning about the surreality of Russia. You feel it
Hmm.
already when you arrive at the airport and you have to go through passport control. That is yeah. You don't try. You do not want to move too much or to say something because
No.
it feels like any moment they cage you,
Yeah.
throw you in prison, and it's not sure if you ever come out again. So but then you start talking with these people and with the Russians, and it's a whole different kind of business. So what I really appreciate and liked of working internationally is obviously dealing with so many
Sure.
um, different cultures, uh, different styles of doing business, but also building fantastic relationships, and even friendships with people. Yeah, so I still have very fond memories of my time, at Wizards.
That sounds fantastic and very relatable because I told you before, in my time at the Dutch distributor, I made a couple of friends that are still friends to this day. Even when I reached out to you, you were immediately willing to, jump on a call and talk about the old days. I also see one of your former colleagues, Yuri, around once, maybe twice a year, if we're lucky. So that says a lot about the people back then, and the love for the product as well, and the love for gaming in general. I think. Do you still have any Magic the Gathering cards at all? Did you keep anything like as a
No,
memento,
no, I
or you
no,
got rid of everything?
I sold my whole collection uh, at one point.
Yeah.
And I do not regret. It was a
No.
bit of because the way how the relationship, and I do not want to go in any detail,
No. Good.
with Hasbro ended up a bit in a sad moment.
Yes.
But so I decided, but I still play. I still play
Good.
Magic Online.
Nice.
Uh, um, yeah, during lunchtime, often I take 45 minutes, maximum an hour or so, and I still play, and it's I think my one of the most beautiful comments I ever had was that my boss at the time, Richard Cornish, she said, "If we would cut you in half, Patrick, we would not find your heart, but we would find a magic card, the place
Ah.
of your heart." Yeah, and obviously there is even the way how things went. Uh, it's still Wizards and particularly Magic will be, for I believe, for the rest of my life, part of who I am. Yeah.
That's fantastic to hear. I
Yeah.
think we couldn't end on a better note,
Yeah.
Patrick. That was fantastic. That was awesome,
Okay.
folks. Yeah, I always want to end up with a certain note I give the viewers. But before I do that, I want to thank you for the talk, Patrick. And again, we couldn't have ended on a better note. But the whole conversation was an absolute pleasure, and I think we maybe have to think about me getting some of the decks and maybe do not on online match, but maybe a match in person. Ask Yuri as well. Maybe get the gang back together like one day and have a match of Magic the Gathering. That would be fantastic. No, but honestly, joking aside, it was a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks a lot for being so open and so informative and having those stories revealed to the rest of the Magic the Gathering and Wizards of the Coast fans. So that was awesome. Thanks a lot, Patrick.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Folks, as I always say at the end of my video, stay healthy, stay frosty. Thanks a lot for listening. I talk to you next time. Bye bye.